I'd like to call the Thursday, July 10th, 2025 special Island City meeting to order. Janice, could you please call roll? Or Jessing here, that's right. Chief, call roll.
Councilmember Atlin.
Here, Janice.
Councilmember Levine. Vice Mayor Maida
Here.
and Mayor Rhodes,
Here.
and
Mitchell,
there's no
absent.
Mitchell today. Okay.
Can I get a approval of the agenda? Excuse me, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Take your hat off. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and all.
May I get approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Any public comment not on the agenda? Anyone, chief?
No, nobody's raising their hand yet.
All right, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to the budget workshop. Item one, receive audit update for fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
Good evening, Andrea Bonham, Interim Finance Manager. The first item agenda is the update on the 2021 audit. What I did is I included the email directly from the auditor since it was pretty detailed in the hours that they would be using on each item. So instead of me translating for you, I just included it with the agenda. And so they're looking at being done at the middle of July. I've put a call into him today since the middle of July is Tuesday. Just to get on his radar to see where we are. If you look at item on the bullet points, the sixth one down where it has payables, and he says this will take about 15 hours once we receive the invoices requested. I had gotten back to him and let him know we have submitted everything that they have requested. As far as we know, there is no other. So he got back to me and he said he will verify with his staff to make sure there was nothing else and we haven't heard from them. He wasn't aware that we had already gone through that second round again. So we had either said we have sent it to you or we cannot find it. So
Okay.
that one is the only one I have an update on.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, I'll go ahead if you have some. If not, I'll ask a few.
No.
Okay. According to this timeline here, it's about 14 days if you add up all the hours that he says he's going to need on it.
Mhm.
So that's going to be probably more like August 1st then.
This was sent June 26th,
Okay.
this response.
All right, so they've done some work on it. The other thing I had was, so they're saying that they asked for documents that you couldn't find. Did you find those documents or have you
No.
just submitted?
So one of the problems they've had over the years in getting this come to completion, they'll ask for documents, the city submits documents, then they'll, 6 months later, will ask for documents. The city will submit the same documents. And so when I talked to Brian initially a couple months ago, I said, what do we do in the case where we physically cannot find the documents? And we've tried very creative ways to find those documents. I said, at some point, we're going to have to take the hit, take the finding.
Right,
If they physically cannot be found, this cannot be what holds up this audit.
right. So a year and a half ago, this is what we asked for. We asked for this audit to be done.
Mhm.
Same thing was going on. We were told it would come in June. And again, it's not you, you're brand new. I'm just talking in general. And what I think should happen is if you can't find these documents, then you move on,
Mhm.
which looks like what you're thinking of doing. So we can't hold this up for 18 more months because documents can't be found. So I'm glad that, you're on the same page there. What documents couldn't you find?
So a lot
I mean,
of,
exactly.
so I can tell
How
you,
critical are they?
They're not real critical. A lot of them was two for payroll. One was for a firefighter, and they wanted the backup that went to that payroll. And we can find the timesheet, but we can't find the payroll that goes with it. Another one has to deal with Train Depot. And what's really interesting about that one is the stuff they're looking for is the only thing you can't find in the payables files, which makes me think somebody already pulled them for one of the previous years and they just somehow never got refiled. Because it's funny that the only documents missing from that, the whole 2021 is the documents that they're asking for that specifically relate to the train park. And since that's an ongoing project, it feels like somebody pulled them for a reason, but they never quite made it back to the file. And there was another one regarding a stipend for a council member. So not really big things on the payable side that I've been involved with.
Right.
And so when I talked to Brian, one of the reasons, like I said, they're just as frustrated with us as we are with them, because they said they would get feedback for 6 months and then it would be crickets again. So they would just stop. And so it's like every 6 months they keep going through the same thing and getting in this loop. So I have to say, Jane has done the majority of this budget. I just helped pull the files that were here. And she has done a good job when she responds, and she will put on it also previously responded on the date that she gave it to them originally, because they kept asking us for the same thing that they already had. And so she's done a really good job of documenting, okay, we've given this to you for a second time, and here was the original date.
Thanks.
Sure.
So you give them the original document?
No, we scan it and send it to them in a Dropbox.
Okay. You said somebody pulled it, so it's no longer there. So
No,
that-
I don't know that. I said, when we went to pull the documents, I found it strange, like for the train depot, that those items were the ones missing out of the box. It's as if they got pulled for some other reason. It could be, what have we spent on the train depot? I mean, I don't know. It just seems strange to me that those were the ones missing. So, and they all go together. They're all related to each other. So it seems like a project you would pull all the receipts and then maybe they just didn't get back to their location. Like I said, it's years ago, so I'm not sure.
Any other questions from council?
Okay.
Right, open that part up to public comment. Any public comment on that part of it?
Susan Priest, I live in Castle Oaks, and one of the comments I have is, I don't know why the vendor can't provide a duplicate copy of the invoice. I mean, there's more than one way to get it.
Yeah, and that is true. We've actually been very creative on some of the missing ones. We've contacted the vendor, but some of this is very old. One of the vendors had actually turned all their documents over to us years ago, and they were filed out at the South Valley Trunk, out at the sewer plant, and I guess those are no longer there. We've even tried calling the employee's wife who still works there. So we've gotten very creative on any way we could find these documents. Even old engineers will look up names and tried to track them down to their new positions to see what they remembered. And it was a lot of investigating, and we were successful on some. Like one of them was I had a request for the wastewater treatment hauling off to the disposal for the sludge, and that came in a roundabout, very interesting way. But some of them, we just got to the point where we literally have exhausted everything we can think of and we got very creative.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone on Zoom, chief? All right, we'll close public comment. All right, we'll move on to the second item, review revenue expenses with comparison to budget fiscal year 2024-2025.
So this is a much bigger document, obviously, and I do have to apologize, and Ms. LaFane had also just mentioned this. I had originally sent what I thought was the complete packet to you guys last Friday, and in my email, I stated it's over 50 pages long, so I wanted to give you guys time to look at it. I did receive some responses of thanks, but I didn't receive a response other than that. And when I realized there's a truncated PDF, so it's just the general fund that was sent to you guys and what's on the agenda. So the entire report is here, which is over 50 pages long. So I apologize for that. And now as far as this, I'll ask you if you guys have a preference. I have a few items I wanted to highlight here of things that we're still working on or that we know are issues or why they look a little different. And then after that, you guys can ask me your questions that you have and then the community. So if you don't mind, I'll just start with
Yeah, please.
mine. So the very first one you'll notice on page 1 at the very top is your current secured and unsecured property tax and your property tax in lieu of VLF, which is the vehicle license fee. And then right below that, you'll see there's 2 other items, the supplemental tax roll, and they show 0 as your actuals. And that is because they've actually been included in the top 2 above it. So that's why they don't show any actuals. So that's something that Jane and I are looking at right now. The next item, if we go down to use of money, almost at the bottom of the page, and you'll see the golf course lease, it shows we received $80,000. That is incorrect. That was a double invoice that the accounts receivables created a double and 2 invoices. I think they didn't know they had created one maybe, and then received against it. So so that has already been fixed, but it was fixed in June 25. So it doesn't show because this goes through 5/31. So that one's already been fixed to reflect the $40,000. The other item on page 2, you'll see this planning reimbursement and developer reimbursement. This is a whole new project in itself. This has not been reconciled for about 4 years. So this is a whole project that needs to be taken on. Nothing's been received against it because what happens is when a project comes in from Wildflower or Castle Oaks, all the engineering and planning that the city pays for to have that project completed should be reimbursed by the developer. So what's been happening in the past is we pay the bills, keep track of it, and then charge the developers. Now, in the beginning, they also give us a deposit. So they have a deposit, we do expenses, it's supposed to be reconciled, and then when they run out of their deposit, you start billing them. Now, a couple years ago, we also had a situation where Wildflower actually paid Coastland directly for their engineering, which means it never went through the city, which was much cleaner for us because we didn't have to track it. So this is a whole project in itself that is not easily fixed. It's going to take a lot of research and figuring out where we stand. And so if you look at when I bring the budget for you in this revenue on the next item, you'll notice I just kept it the same and I put notes next to it in the revenue because it's a whole project that needs to be dug into. So that's why you don't see anything against it because we haven't billed against it. I did make a couple of calls. Originally, I think Michael asked me to call, Michael Ormsby. So I reached out to Wildflower and they're like, we should be good. We gave another deposit. So nothing had been updated. So at that point, that's when they didn't go any further and it hasn't been researched.
Okay.
The next item, if you look down on miscellaneous revenues, you'll see there's a miscellaneous revenue and right under it, marketing promotions. And you'll notice in marketing and promotions, there's only $50, but when you go farther back into the expenditures, you'll see that there's like 3,000 in expenditures because all that money has got put in with the miscellaneous revenue above it. So it needs to be pulled out to the marketing. So it doesn't look like you spent it. So basically that was the original ball caps where it was basically they paid the money to buy the hats and then they charged out enough just to recoup the money so it would wash out. But right now it's not showing that because it's not in the correct account. On page 3, you'll notice there's a couple of goofy little items like under city council, it says fringe benefits and Medicare expenses. That's an incorrect journal entry from payroll. And you'll notice it's for city clerk and city treasurer. They're little amounts, but that needs to be cleaned up. So that's another one we're working on that we need to correct that journal entry. And then under city clerk, you'll notice there shows no actuals under salaries, wages, and employees, but it was budgeted for 24,000. And then the stipend shows 22,000, but was only budgeted for 2,400. Ideally, that would have all been under stipend because we pay it as a stipend. We do not pay it as a salary. So that 24,000 should have been budgeted down below, and that'll be addressed in the year-end budget adjustment. So the numbers are still the same. They're just not in the right spots. City treasurer also has another one of those goofy little fringe benefits that we need to fix. The next page I have On page 6, there's another one in planning. It's only 33 cents, one of those oddball items. There's one, if you go to page 7, under professional and special services engineer, and then right below it is professional and special services program manager. Those are basically similar. They didn't budget for, in 24-25, anything for the program manager, but they put the expenses against it, which normally you'd put it where the budget is. So with talking to Jane, we've decided those are very similar. They're already under engineer. So they should both go in that first account, the 6212 account, where the budget is. So those expenses need to be moved there. And basically what's in this program manager one is basically the Christmas parade map and a few other little items. I'm not sure why they were put there, but on page 8, you have the same type of thing happen under citywide services. Those first 2 accounts, this is other public employee benefits, that OPEB expense, and the retiree health insurance. When you go to look at that account, that 5221 account, everything in it, there was nothing budgeted, but what got put against it is the retiree health. It needs to be moved to the one below it, that is retiree health. So we have a lot of these kind of little cleanups, and I think what I discussed with Jane, what we can do is we're going to look at adding a do not use at the end of the title. So people understand, don't use that anymore, because there's no sense,
Right.
put it in retiree health. This one is unfortunate and not good news. You'll notice there's a large bank charge and processing fee. Just a little farther down, third from the line, and that is part of the PERS fine that was received that I reported on a couple weeks ago regarding the fine for the non-reporting of the retired annuitants that were working. It had been about 2 years since they had been reported, so that's a fine, a bank fee that they charged us. So get to page 14. We're now in the wastewater treatment. You have some other items that just need to be cleaned up, the PERS retirement and things like that. But if you look at under admin finance HR, there's this 2 items called professional services. One is the 6211 account and the 6215 account. What that is, last year you guys paid ClearGov and they helped put your budget together, ideally. So we paid like almost $5,000 for a setup fee. It was $4,833, and then another $11,000 for the yearly. They just sent me another invoice for $11,000, and what they do is they're the ones that provide your budget digitally. And I talked to the chief about this, because if you look at your budget last year, this is the one that's on the website. So what ClearGov did for us, they did this first page, all these charts, and you have about 4 pages of charts, and that's it. That was what the 15,000 paid for. So my question to you guys is, I need direction on if we're going to look at doing ClearGov. Do you want the fancy charts in the budget? Or if you're comfortable, I've talked with the chief, we can make the charts within Excel. It'll just take us some time. Or because I have this invoice that they're looking to be paid for ClearGov.
How
So
much was it again?
last year was 15,000 because there was a setup plus the 11,000. This year it's just 11,000. Well, it's 11,000 to.
I'd say do it in-house.
Yeah, and if I think if you're a bigger municipality and you still have to come up with the numbers, but then they can set up the whole budget book for you. We're just not at that level yet. Since we have to create it, this is literally the one that was approved last year is basically our budget worksheets. So there's nothing that they made different than our budget worksheets. I just don't think we're at that level yet.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so for 15,000, they created 4 pages of charts and that's it for 1 fiscal year?
Yes, and they did it as a setup. That's what the setup fee was for. And then they also put it in like a PDF so we could put it on the website. And ideally, they would be doing more because they have a lot of capabilities. We just weren't, I don't think we're there yet to have the to get the full benefit of what they can do for us. So that's one item I'll need just some direction on of what you guys think you want to do there. Let's see. Your next one, if you go to page 18, this is where you start getting into tertiary plant. And there's just some items. This is where everything starts kind of things that start happening that weren't budgeted for. And so one of the items I have talked to Josh and Jane about on the year-end budget adjustment. If you look at last year, they kind of grouped everything in a summary page for you and said, here's the things that are changing. With this year-end budget adjustment, the suggestion I'm making is we did not have a capital budget for 24-25. And so the capital improvements that came forward and the additional spending that you guys did would come to council, council would approve it, which technically at that point probably should have had a budget adjustment amendment with it. But since they didn't, what I would like to do, and this is mostly for our records and the auditor records, I don't want to clump it all in at one budget adjustment and say, oh, you know, we were over this much, so we made this adjustment. So what I would like to do is go back and find the documentation for each approved charge that was paid for and make the budget adjustments. I talked to Cassell also about this. I can make them monthly. I can't do them individually within the month. That'll mess up the budgeting, but I can do them monthly. So in April, I would have a budget adjustment, but then I would have all my documentation backing it up of why this budget adjustment was made and the council's approvals. So then when we have an audit, because it's quite a bit over last year between the tertiary and the wastewater, then we will have all our backup. We don't have to go then find it again or figure out who was here and how did this happen. That's going to take some time. So ideally, we were looking at having the budget adjustment done by July 30th for the year end, but we're still bringing things in, and that project itself is going to slow us down a little. So I don't think that's going to be on that July 29th meeting for the budget year-end budget adjustments. So we have a lot of, and you guys, these are just some of the things I'm pulling out. If you'll notice on page 26, you can see there's third from the bottom, $18,000 for capital outlay and building. That we did not actually put out the money. That was the asset that was donated to us. So Jane actually booked this asset as an expense, and I can talk to Jane and Sue about this maybe later. So that wasn't actually money we put out, even though it shows as on an expenditure. Then one of the other items you'll notice, and you'll notice it on the revenue, there are some items on, let's see, page, lighting and landscape, CFD, page 32. So on page 32, you'll see it's called District 1 Lighting and Landscape. And then underneath it, you have District 1 revenues. Those are the people that pay that low amount, that 52 some 30, I think it is, for those 215 lots that are not in the CFDs. Underneath that, the CFD revenue is the revenue that's on the lighting and landscape that goes on the tax roll. We collect through the tax roll every year. That is part of the CFDs. That's all fine. Then you turn the page and you'll see the expenses for the lighting and landscape district. We're still doing okay. Then when you get to page 34, you'll notice there's something and it says CFD and now says bonds. It used to say CFD district. And I think what was happening is people were confusing it because this, I've verified this with Jane, this fund is a fiduciary fund. This is where we receive bond money, we hold it, and then we send it out. This is not the expenses for anything that has to do with lighting and landscape or our admin fee that comes from Shane or anything. So that's why we changed that name. If you look at the two different reports, we changed it to bonds. So everybody's very clear that that is just for the bonds and it has nothing to do with lighting and landscaping. So there's been some confusion over the years with these CFDs. And then one of the other things that you'll also notice when you look at your revenue sheet that I gave you that we'll be addressing next, there's several items that on our page 1 that are for police and fire. Like under taxes, you have the sales tax public safety, you'll notice that there shows 0 for actuals, because actually there is a 9613 account that puts it in the police revenue, and it was received there. So one of the suggestions that Jane and I have been working on and trying to formulate, what we'd like to do is take any of the police and fire money. It's not a lot. I think fire comes to a total of 20,000 between their concealed weapon permits, their sales tax, and the different items, and fires is like fire inspections. We'd like to move those to the police and fire accounts, so they're separated out of the general fund, because one of the issues we usually have is, well, no, well, we put money in there, but it went into the general fund, and where is it? So by moving them, you get them all listed on one sheet, and you know exactly what fire brought in, you know exactly what police brought in. Fire also does have Measure M in addition to that. And then that's basically my highlights. If you guys have any questions for me.
No, I have none.
I don't have any questions.
So I got a few. First of all, I think what you posted was 15 pages and then
Yeah, that's what I spoke to earlier when I
and
first
now
did
there's
it.
50. So I haven't had a chance to read. You know, I read the 15.
Yeah, which was general fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. And then I didn't hear from anybody to say, oh, by the way,
Just saying like,
yeah,
that's, I know, I mean, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that it's hard to ask questions when you just got 35 extra pages, but I'll ask some questions on the 15 that I got.
okay.
How about that? So I'm gonna go back to my 15 pages there. So on page 2, I'll be really quick.
Okay.
Page 2, you've got this transfer in 2.281 million and transfer out 1.3. Like, what is that?
Those are the bank accounts, the saving and the checking going back and forth. So when we receive funds, like we received one of these, we received a sales tax that was like 981. We put it in the bank because it goes through our front register for our cash receipting. We put it in the bank and then we move it to the savings so we can get the interest on it. And then as we draw down the account, we have to move back into checking to cover our payroll and as we spend bills.
Right. So, I mean, it makes the budget look better than it is by $1 million.
I agree.
And that's kind of misleading. Not your fault, but you know, that does skew things. The other question I got is the bottom line, total fund revenue,
Mhm.
1.067 versus the budget. Why is that booked as a negative and not a positive? Because you're actually over the budget.
Well, in your revenues, it'll show, like if you, let's pick one of these easy ones. When you go over, it shows as a negative when you're in your revenues
Yeah, that's kind of,
because it's the debit and credit system. Yeah.
all right.
So it's just opposite of what you think it would be
Yep.
in revenues.
Okay. Page 4. Okay, obviously, this is our favorite. Legal. So we budgeted for 126,000. We're now at 250 for 11 months.
And that's just in that general fund account.
And that's
Because
just
it's
in the
spread
general
out
fund
through a bunch
account.
of accounts.
Correct,
Yes.
right, which is not good. So at what point, what is the policy? Like, I kind of would like to know, hey, we've exceeded the budget by 25 grand. You guys need to approve that. And then when you exceed it by another 25 or whatever, like you let us know. Now, you know, at the very end of the year, we have exceeded the budget by, you know, $120,000. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I think there should be a mechanism in place where when you start getting way out of whack, that you tell the council. So the council, this is all year I've been harping about this stuff, you know, for every different department. It's like, got to do a budget amendment, got to do a budget amendment. So that's a concern of mine right there. So hopefully there'll be a policy whereby when you go over whatever you guys decide amount, that you report it to the council.
Well, and what will help that is this report, which you guys had received before. This report should be given monthly or quarterly.
Yeah.
And
actually,
it'll be the month after the quarter ends at the second meeting. So if it ends in September, then by your second meeting in October, you would be reviewing this. So you would know all through the year where, and if you don't get that, I think
Right.
council would request that. So you know where you are, as opposed to you're just now knowing where you are at the end of the year.
Right. Okay.
And then that'll have to be addressed when you guys budget, when we work on the budget at the next workshop of what you're going to put for legal. Because you'll look at your actuals and determine where you need to be.
All righty. Let me see. Going to general fund, building inspection, this is page 7. I mean, we budgeted to, well, this is, I guess, not much building going on. 181, it's a big difference, 77.
Yeah, and that one was just ideal. We didn't have that much growth. And we have so what I did on this next one, if you look at when we get to the revenue page, I actually contacted Wildflower because they're the only ones currently in that can get things built within the year. And they gave me the number 18. And so everything for the new year coming is calculated on 18 builds. You might have a few extra in there of individual homeowners, but nobody else is in the process where they could actually get a house built in the next, any other developments. They're not there yet.
Right. Page 8, we got general fund. And I mean, we budgeted 360 and it's 1.5 million. But then you got this almost $1 million transfer out. What's the transfer out? 981, right at the very bottom.
That's that, I believe that's the amount of that sales tax that came in. That one I'll have to do some research on. I believe that's the, I'll have to check on that
Okay.
one.
Thanks. Bottom line on page 9, expenditures. We budgeted for 449. We've already spent 950. So
Mhm.
that's not good.
Eh.
Going to the revenue accounts. Or I'm on the tertiary plan.
Tertiary,
Everyone's favorite.
okay,
Down at
So,
the bottom. So
wait, what page?
page, it's not got a page. Sorry. It's these, this one.
We're not there yet. That's our next item on
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda.
Then, yeah, I don't really want to go through the 35 pages and that I haven't read and ask questions on the fly. So
So page
so I'm done.
17 is revenues for tertiary on this one I just gave
on
you.
the one you just gave me,
Are you going to ask me? There's not many, so it's
yeah.
simple. There's only 3, ARSA, CDCR, and Portlock.
Yeah, so why has ARSA only paid $20,000 and CDCR's only paid 55? I know why Portlock paid 52.5 because they're billed quarterly. So when you get that final quarter, you'll bring them to the 70,000.
They're all billed quarterly. If
But-
you look at the budget for ARSA, that was never going to be what they were going to pay. They only pay 79,000 and a bit, and they're also billed quarterly. Plus, then you have to reduce it by the amount of their fee, their wastewater fee that they pay, their permit. We pay 2/3 of it, so it gets reduced even more. And then if we don't take water, it gets reduced more. So ARSA was never going to be 110. It's going
I
to be,
just want to hear you say that.
oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And CDCRs, there's just, you bill them, but CDCR is not 175, it's 110 a year. That number is not a correct
Okay.
number.
But even if they're even with a quarter to go, 55 doesn't get to 110. So
Well, it's
But
never
we-
going to be 110. It can't get to,
CDCR is never going to be 110.
no, CDCR will be 110.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I moved on.
Okay,
I moved on to CDCR now
Yeah.
because you,
it should be 110 at the end of the year.
right. But a quarter doesn't bring 55. So maybe they're a couple of quarters behind or,
This quarter just ended, so they just got billed. So this is only through 5/31, so it doesn't show the fourth quarter billing.
thanks. Engineering, page 18. Budgeted 22.5, spent 211,444. There's a lot of that
Yeah, and those,
Down at the tertiary plan, there's a lot of that. I mean, that's probably the wastewater stuff.
yeah, and most of that is the items that came to council and you guys approved one off, one off, one off. And that's all the research I have to go do to pull all that together for the budget, the year and budget adjustment.
All righty, that's it. Thank you. I'm sure I have more, but I haven't read it, so I don't want to ask
Okay.
questions on something I haven't read. Thanks. Oh, yeah, one more thing, sorry. Excuse me. There was one in Ed Hughes Arena, there was $50,000 that, I don't know what page it's on.
So that's on the revenue for the
Yeah,
upcoming.
there was one, obviously, it was the, for the fencing that was just approved. And then, but there's another 50,000 donation.
15 from other governments on the revenue page that we're going to discuss in just a boat. And
Okay.
that is that, if the grant that got approved from ACRA for
Right, but
50.
there's two of those, 250s in
Okay,
there.
well, we'll look at it when we
Okay.
get there.
And then the, Evelyn Bishop Hall had no rentals. Is that down on my head of myself again?
So yes, you are,
Okay.
but I can address all that when we get
No, no,
there.
okay. And then, that's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Let's open up the public comment. Any public comment on this?
Since I only had the benefit of 15 pages, will you be posting the whole thing? And then will you be doing another workshop to discuss these things in total? Because this was agendized as 15 pages, not the 50. So actually, we shouldn't be having this meeting technically, because this was not agendized. Yours was not agendized. This is all that was agendized. So will you be accepting additional questions and having another workshop? Is that,
Yeah.
Yes.
this is a workshop. This isn't a council meeting, so you can talk to me.
Yes.
Yes, I believe we should.
Yeah, I would agree. And will you be posting up the other one shortly? Thank you.
So yes, I would suggest having actually another workshop and also that's one of my last items is the workshop schedule of if I could get direction from council on the moving forward.
Can I make public comment, please?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to caution about is I'm not aware that there's a budget for next year. And so currently, the expenditures are being made without authority. So if you wait for all of these things to happen, you're going to be months probably before you get a budget adopted. So I think in the interim, I think you need to do something to get some kind of budget adopted, you know, because that's a problem. You have no authority to even incur expenses right now. Payroll is going on, all those things are going on. You're doing business like usual. Those are incurring expenses and that's shouldn't happen. And that's my comment. And I have another comment. I'm still kind of unclear about this part right here. And my comment here is, I could be unclear because I'm not understanding it. But one thing that should happen, when you budget a certain way, you should do the accounting the same way. Because otherwise it makes it impossible to understand what's happening. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
And that's, I totally agree, especially if you're budgeting, that's where we had the concern where there's like zero budget, but they're putting expenses. It should go to where it's budgeted. Also, I can get with you further on that transfers in and out and working with Jane. And there was a comment brought up at the last meeting that wasn't on the agenda for, Councilman LaFane brought up on rolling the 24-25 budget forward, which I believe is on the warrants we had that time were for the 24-25 year and the checks were for that year. So I think it's on the next agenda. I'll have to ask, is that correct, City Manager? George?
George.
On Tuesday's meeting, the rolling the 24-25 budget forward will be on Tuesday's meeting to make that roll forward until we get an adopted budget. And that was the comment that Councilman LaFane made at the previous meeting.
It's on the agenda.
Any other public comment? Got anyone on Zoom, chief? Close public comment? All right, we'll move on to item 3, review draft of proposed revenue for fiscal year 2025, 2026.
Okay, so this is just the revenue accounts. This is one, Dominic, your favorite one. So what I've done is I've done the budget, the actuals through 5/31, and then the proposed revenue, and then I put notes next to it just to give you an idea of how we came to those numbers. And I can go through this really quick. I don't think we have to go through every line. So it might be helpful if you ask your questions first this time, and then I'll address anything that I think is still outstanding.
I don't have any questions.
So what page you starting on here?
One of the revenue one. I gave you a bigger printout if the revenue.
What's going on?
It's the one that's on your agenda. I just printed you out a bigger one so you could read it. It's the one you were referring to just a few moments ago on your agenda.
Dominic, looks like this. Landscaped. It's not attached to that.
I can just look at yours, it's fine.
That's okay. Selena's got one
Thanks.
for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't get this one. I read it online, but, okay. Thanks, Selena.
Andrea, that, investment income, is that from the money that,
That's the interest income?
the interest income that was
Yeah.
done when George first became manager? Is that what that's?
Yeah, and so if you'll look at that one, we had actually budgeted 350 for that. We're at 531. This is for through 531, which is kind of interesting and funny. You'll notice that I have it budgeted lower for next year, and that's because as you guys start doing capital projects, the cash reserves will go down, which so you will not make as much interest. So just to be safe, I knocked that one down a little. And you can see what I told you, I had 12 months at 40,000. Right now, we go up between 46 and 41. We kind of bounce up and down. So I picked 12 at the 40 to be safe.
That's the interest rates might come down.
Right.
And so any of these numbers that you think need to be changed, that's what we're here for. Or how did you get there? Or
Did you want the questions first?
yes, yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
So it's confusing on the swimming pool and recreation because are they both split by the fiscal year? Is that how that works?
Yes, which is very strange. So last year in July was the beginning of starting recreation, but really your funds come in May and June for your swimming and your camp. So there's really nothing July, August for the swimming pool.
Right.
And it comes this year. So this year includes the May, but not the June yet. Because it goes through, the actuals are for 5/31.
Right, okay. Yeah, because of course it makes it look worse than it is when you've got actuals at 5.7 and budget at 22. So will that be changed for the upcoming budget? So it's a little bit easier to see whether, I'm just trying to track things like, did the swimming pool, how good or bad did it do? Same with recreation. So,
Yeah, and if you look at the swimming pool, which is, we're on page 3 for the swimming pool, is that where you are?
yep,
Okay, so if you look at it, they had budgeted 18, we made 4. We're saying next year we're going to make 85. Because those original numbers, I don't think they were just guessing, they had never done it. So I met with Selena, Jane and I met with Selena, and then I met with Selena also personally to find out, we know exactly how many kids can take lessons based on how many lifeguards we have. And every year it fills up. So we can look at growing a little, but we're still, we have a better idea of what we can handle. So that's why we figured we could do more than the 44, but not to the 18.
Right. So, your proposed budget would be the whole fiscal year, not just half of it.
Correct.
This is what I'm trying to.
July through June. It's going to be the
Okay.
complete fiscal year, just as a funny year for the swimming
All
pool
right.
and camp.
My other question was, Ed Hughes, well, go down the list. Ed Hughes, so
Mhm.
how'd you come up with those 25, 10, and, well, a donation's a donation, that
Yeah.
could be anything. That was the question I had. Yeah, what's that? So there's a donation of 50 and then there's another one from Accra. What was?
So, and that one in donations is actually a mistake because we originally had it in donations and it's actually revenue from other agencies. So that 50 should come out. So that is a mistake
Okay.
that didn't get taken out.
So that comes out and the numbers go down.
Mhm.
Howard Park. We didn't make any money on Howard Park at
So
all?
no, Howard Park's never been split out before.
Okay,
So one of the things we were trying to do when I was talking with Jane is we had the swimming pool, the recreation and Ed Hughes, and you had all this miscellaneous revenue, the rental revenue that gets mixed in with everything else. And we have that big donation coming in or the funds coming in, the grant funds. And so our concern was putting that 98071 in the general fund when actually it's a Howard Park grant. So these are all general fund monies that are listed here. All the money is still general fund. It's just a way to track it easier, which is how Ed Hughes came about. And so slowly they've been added over the years. So our suggestion was to have one for Howard Park because there's going to be a lot of stuff, moving parts at Howard Park.
right. So the arena used to have its own special fund. Can we get back to that?
It still does.
It still
That's
does?
what you're looking at.
Okay,
And now Howard Park has its own fund, but it's still general fund monies.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see how much money it makes because I've been
Yep.
critical.
And that's why we did this. It's much easier to track it this way than with activity codes.
Excellent. Turning the page to the impact fees. Not really, I mean, basically that's whatever gets billed,
Yeah.
right? And wasn't those impact fees going to get looked at anytime soon because they were, pretty old?
Working on it.
Okay,
With ETA.
The other thing that you folks should look at is the CFDs. You haven't.
Use a microphone, please, George.
The other thing you should be looking at is the CFDs. I think for the last couple of years, you haven't increased it, the 2% that or the cost of living that you're allowed, and you might be falling behind. As you all know, costs are increasing. It's not going down, and so at the very minimum, you should be keeping up with the cost of inflation.
We discussed that last year.
Yeah, we did. We did a whole.
it did go up last year, so, but we're going to talk about
We'll
that.
get to that, yeah.
One of the things that, it's just a kind of a future question, but, Ormsby, he wrote, like a, whatever, proposed budget, sample budget, whatever. I mean, he said that, the Measure M funds were volatile. The Measure M funds seem to be the most stable fund there is because that's all sales tax.
Yeah.
So, and it, looking here, it's, we're not going to probably hit the 600, but we probably hit, 550. It's going to be close. I'm just saying,
It should
I
be very
disagree with that
close.
statement that they're volatile. Of course, if people stop spending money.
Well, if
then-
we have an 08
Right.
and
Sure.
Walmart, which is like, and Kenny can speak to this, which is the biggest, I believe, revenue, then you will have a hit if you have a recession like you had in 08 and 09.
But over 5 or 6 years, because I've looked at it, it's been pretty stable.
Yeah, and the one thing also about Measure M, that's been some confusion in the past that I'll address since we're talking about it, is that is for labor personnel costs. And one of the confusions in the past, it's been used for other things other than that in training. And if you look at your current budget for 24-25, there's items budgeted in there for non-personnel costs. So that's items that will need to be addressed in the year-end budget adjustment and moved out of there and not used for personnel cost. So, and I think we're going to change the name to where it says personnel only. So everybody understands you cannot put anything else in here. And then all those expense accounts that are in Measure M will have a do not use behind them. Because this seems to be a cycle. Every couple years, Measure M gets charged expenses. and then they have to take them back out. So it's been this ongoing rolling problem.
Well, that's one of the problems of not getting an audit because the auditor
Mhm.
picks that type of thing up.
Not getting an audit and getting new people
right.
and then, but
And then Measure M, it's been kind of confusion on what you can actually spend out of it because you get one person says one thing, one person says another, the county says this or doesn't say this. So it would be nice to have like the original Measure M document so that we know what we can pull out of Measure M, right? So that's it. I'm done. Thanks.
sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
The only question I have is usually when we get our budget, we see prior years comparison. We'll have 22, 23,
Okay.
23, 24. Will we have that?
Yeah, you want it on the, for the full budget? How far back would you like to see?
I think we've gone 3 years back.
3 years?
3
Okay,
fiscal years back. So we
Okay.
can look at our increases because it usually gives us a percentage of
sure.
what we've exceeded or what we've increased over the fiscal year. That's helpful.
Okay. Yeah, it'll make it a bigger, much bigger sheet.
Yeah, Michael Rock did a fabulous budget in 23, 22, 23.
Yeah, and I think that's when,
It was very pretty.
well, because that was a clear glove budget, I think. I think it
Well,
was.
it
the
had all
same.
the years.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was
Yeah.
yeah,
and I have that one bound. That was the bound one.
readable.
Yeah.
It was a nice budget.
Got anything, Vice Mayor? You got anything?
I have nothing. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay.
I have nothing. All right, we'll open up to public comment. Any public comment on this? Anyone on Zoom, Chief? Nope.
Actually, one item I would like to address on the revenue, if you look at, this is where I was talking about moving the police and fire out of the general fund. You'll look, if you see like plan check fees, the ones I have, let's see, right under, planning fees, which is highlighted, it says special department services. The reason it shows 0 is because it's budgeted in that 967 account, the 9670, instead of in the general fund. So all of those that you see zeros, I put a note of, they would go in the other account. So that's why there is 0.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Have some items I would like to ask.
Oh, okay.
Direction on, just so we're clear. So working on the budget, we're gonna look at a 3-year look back. And then the other, on the CFDs, I need direction. Not that you're making a decision tonight. All I need is direction. The last time we looked at the CFDs, we did a whole big different scenarios, 3 scenarios. I just have an idea if you guys, what Shane gave me now is what we could go, what we're allowed to go to our max, which was 2.39 this year for the CPI index. Or last year, we raised them all except for that highest one, which is the majority of the homes that pay the highest amount. And we didn't raise theirs, but we raised everybody else so they could try to catch up with them. I just need some direction of what type of staff report to bring to you guys, of what you would like to see.
Can you tell us what direction was last year?
So last year, you guys raised it a smaller percentage.
Right, I
And you-
remember that, but did
Oh.
we put any sort of scale on the preceding years?
No, you
No, we
went
just
3 years
left
with
it.
nothing. You had 3 years of no increases. Then last year you did a smaller increase, but you did not increase the highest.
No, I heard that. What
Okay.
I'm saying is, did we project it any further or did we just address?
No,
that
you did not
fiscal year?
project it because it's already written into the CFD code. You don't, it does it for you.
So did we address that? Or did we just address that increase?
You address the increase every year. It's already in the code of what the increase will be,
So we
unless
went-
you decide to do something different.
That's what I'm asking, if we did anything different.
You did do something different 4 years. You did nothing for 3 years. And
No,
then
I remember what we did. I'm just, it's too confusing, I guess. I'm just saying, asking, did we do anything other than what we did last year? Did we talk about it? Did we address it? Is in the minutes what we discussed?
No, I do not believe so because it's already in the CFD code of what you're allowed
Okay.
to increase. So you guys didn't look at changing it because you
That
go.
was my question.
Okay.
Direction?
Well, last year I voted for the CFD increase because the city was going to go and look at an area-wide CFD for police and fire. And I don't believe that happened, but so we can discuss that at the CFD time. I think you should just bring back the scenarios that you had last time, just make it easy.
That doesn't make it easy because you had a lot
Okay.
last time. That's what I'm saying. Do you guys want 4 different scenarios, or do you want 1 or 2, like not increase or increasing as it should be, or do what we did last year,
Just 2 for me. I'm good.
which is the code and what we did last year?
Yeah. The full amount for everybody or what we did last year,
Okay.
which is good enough for me.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Me too.
No? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
They've
so
given
I'll bring
direction.
back 2 different options, what we did last year and what the code says.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let me grab my little. So my understanding of ClearGov, I need to know if you guys want me to look into ClearGov and what they can do. This is the 11,000 bill that was just received, and it's not approving it or approving it. I just need to know direction. Do I go work with ClearGov and figure out if this is something we want to use, or are we not interested? I won't bother.
I'd say keep it in-house.
I didn't, since it's a workshop, I'm just gonna shout it out. Your current budget program, your current software program has a budget piece to it, does it?
Correct. Yeah.
Can that be used in, is that a program that's usable?
Yes, and we are using it. So what ClearGov, what they did for us last year is,
For things?
yes, if you want it pretty with all these charts and stuff, we can do our own charts. We can do that in Excel. And we can, they have,
The program offer that feature as well?
yeah, that's called My Excel, where it works, it pulls straight from Cassell and it can make the data and then it can do it. So that's what I'm saying. I just need, I think we can do at least something presentable. It might not be as beautiful as the one we had in previous years where ClearGov, I believe they did that whole budget and they did the binding and everything.
What did they charge again? 11?
Last year, they charged 15,000. This year, it's 11.
How much staff time is it going to take to do it Did it.
Once,
in-house?
it's not a lot of staff time, it's the getting to the numbers. Once you have the numbers, it's creating a chart in Excel. It depends on this one, the charts they did do weren't necessarily related to the budget. It's population, daytime population, households,
All that demographics.
all the demographic stuff. If you guys aren't interested in demographics, it doesn't take a lot of time at
Yeah,
all.
we had like the first 10 pages where, had our capital improvement projects,
Mhm.
had basically our plan, our administrative plan for the year. So we're not going to get that, right? We're just going to get their numbers.
Well, no, you can get that. That doesn't have to do with ClearGov. That's us coming up with the numbers and.
No, not the numbers. We should look at that budget because that had a narrative. I think it was like 10 or 15 pages of accomplishments, year in review, what we're planning moving forward.
And that would
things
be
like that.
in-house. If you want it to look pretty with little graphics and everywhere, that would be
No, I'm-
ClearGov.
Just asking for information in front of the, our fiscal year budget moving forward, what the goals are, what our plans, because I remember seeing that all the time. We'd have our capital improvement project, we'd have where we were going to designate ARPA funds,
Yeah,
what we were going to use them for.
yeah, you had a whole
That's-
little chart in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so you're asking for the format very similar to that year's budget.
Yeah, forecast, what we're
Okay.
going to do with the money we have.
And I think last year you didn't have that because you didn't do a capital budget last year. So that wasn't part of it because it never had one. So, okay, I'll look at the formatting of that previous one. And then as far as workshops, so and the budget schedule. So I know Mondays and Wednesdays is not good for one council member, Thursday is not good for another, and Tuesdays usually have meetings. So I would like to have another budget workshop meeting to where we can address these items that Ms. Ratton brought up, also with the actual expenditure parts on the 23rd. Well, it could be Wednesday or Thursday, whatever you guys choose best, the 23rd or 24th. And then ideally, we would get your input and then have one more after that that pulls it all together and you see the draft before it comes to you to be approved. So it's adding one more workshop. That's my suggestion. If you guys don't want that third workshop, that's up to you.
I prefer a Thursday personally, but that's just
Okay.
being selfish.
And I did meet with Jack today at 2 p.m. to go over this since he wasn't going to be able to be here tonight. And he said he was okay with that. He did give some comments that he wanted me to pass on. One of them was he liked the idea of splitting police and fire out of the general fund. He likes and the Howard Park and the parks just because it makes it clearer for everybody to understand. And I didn't ask him about the workshop schedule, so I don't know about that one.
I'll make it anytime
Okay.
available. So other people are working, they need to set the day.
I would prefer a Thursday just because it doesn't come after a Tuesday. Those Tuesdays are hard, especially if I have payroll that week.
Well, she can poll the council members, give some various
If
dates.
Zach's okay with that, that's fine day for me too.
Okay. All right. I think that's it.
That it? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
I second.
Got a first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Good night.